Hello, welcome to Blasters and Boomsticks. We're your hosts, Dan and Grant. How are you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I've come all the way from hell just to do this review for you.
Was that County Hell?
It might have been, yes. I believe it's spelled Norwich these days.
Bless you. Right, tonight, guys, we're doing Boys from County Hell. It's a new release by director Chris Baugh on Shudder. And it's about a crew of hardy road workers led by a bickering father and son who must survive the night when they accidentally awaken an ancient Irish vampire. So, mate, we've got a new take on the vampire mythology. What did you think?
I'm going to say fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I had fun with this. I think the people falling across the trailer or reading the synopsis or, coming across the like little title or Wikipedia or anything like that when they maybe do a bit of research, maybe won't really, because it is a comedy horror, but maybe we'll be a bit surprised by how slow-paced, methodical, and semi-serious the movie is. Yeah. I was expecting myself more of a Shaun of the Dead kind of feel to it, and it does invoke that feeling at times, but it's not on the same level, and it's not quite as much fun. What about you? What are your thoughts? What did you like?
I'm with you on the tonally. It was a little bit it sort of sectioned it off it rather than having a tone that flowed from horror to comedy. It sort of felt like this scene is going to be humorous, the next scene isn't, and that's sort of how it sort of spaced out. And I wonder, it kind of felt like they were doing a bit of a paint by numbers of, so you need to have if you're doing a black comedy, you need to have a humor, serious humor, rather than mixing it up a bit. I did really enjoy it though. Again, I think I saw the trailer. I was kind of sort of expecting less of a black comedy, more of a generic horror comedy. It seems to be presented that way.
Yes.
So I was quite surprised how, like you said, how sort of serious the tone does go, and it gets quite maudlin in places. There's a lot of questions about life and the hereafter, and a lot of people sort of having crisis of personalities as well. To mix that in with I think if you did a straight sort of character piece with this this take on vampire lore, you could have had a really creepy low budget horror. And I did enjoy it, and I appreciate the humour. I just felt it should have been one or the other.
You've kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that I agree with you totally. I think the way that they handle the creature after the first little tiny hint of an appearance rising from its grave, I think it's done in shadow most of the time. The design's quite good. And you never really, there's never a point where you really see it in all its glory as well. So we usually expect, once it's revealed in this kind of like black comedy horror, then it will be sticking around, and will kind of live or die by how it treats its villain. But it doesn't. It does still kind of stick to a very kind of, like you said, understated kind of like films like recent ones as well, like The Vigil and things like that, where we're more on like sound, rather than visual. The film kind of reminded me of Slaughterhouse Rules. The Simon Pegg movie, where I went in expecting something, it gave me totally something else. And it kind of never really, it's a bit of an identity crisis. It kind of never, to me, it never fulfills one or the other. It kind of goes like, not half-arsed, because clearly the film's very well made and it's thought out, but it's almost scared of jumping both feet in. And again, I keep saying it, but like Shaun of the Dead, where it just went there. And it kind of it's a zombie apocalypse kind of tale, and it doesn't kind of, it just says this is a zombie film, but it's also about a guy called Sean and his life, and you embrace it.
Yeah.
That's it. And it embraced its characters. It embraced the silliness of everything. It embraced all the tropes and the cliches. This film feels like it kind of pokes a little bit of fun at it, and then it steps away to go towards more of this serious kind of like tones for things for a while, and then it goes back to a little bit of comedy. But it's just some of the characters feel out of place, like two of the friends. Two of it's not the main guy, Eugene, and his father, because their dynamic doesn't quite work for me. The bickering stuff, great, but there's never any middle ground between them.
Yeah. I mean, the sort of play Jack Rowan's Eugene and Nigel O'Neill, fancy. Which again, sort of like Nigel O'Neill's a staple of Irish sort of TV and cinema. So you have it's peppered out with like John Lynch, who looks fantastic with his beard and ponytail in this. It looks really good. But it's people brilliant. You have seen before. They're really good.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's just certain character pieces that are just borderline believability.
Yeah, don't you feel like some of the characters fit into like one of them in particular? For spoiler purposes, I won't mention a specific one. It'd be good for an audience, not for me to point it out if you're going to watch it. But one of them feels like he belongs in a horror comedy, and then the other one feels like he belongs in a horror.
Yes,
and that's the issue with it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, well, to get a little bit just sort of in before we sort of talk about the rest of the cast, but a little bit of plot, and that we have. Without sort of just going too many, trying to avoid spoilers, but we have this town that Bram Stoker stayed at in his youth, and that he heard the story of was it Abatak?
Yeah.
The vampire, and basically took the folklore from this little town and fucked off and wrote Dracula. And the people who live there are quite pissed off that they never really got their due. They all hang around this pub called the Stoker.
I love the world building in it. It's great.
Yeah, it's the only thing they've got going for it. It's the only reason tourists go through. And this company want to build a motorway running straight through this farmer's field. Happens to be the burial site of Abatak, the legendary sort of burial site of Abatak. So all the villagers don't want it touching, but they do. And I will say the opening for me was, because it was a cold opening, and this is where we sort of talk about the horror element going in. It was just an old couple watching TV together. They sort of have a little jibe at each other, because that's, you can tell they've been together a while.
Well, they're married.
Yeah, that's it. And then her nose starts bleeding, and she's like quite distressed about it. And she looks at her husband, and his eye starts bleeding. It's proper weeping blood, and the blood starts running down and towards the door.
Yeah,
and the door
opens. Being pulled to gravitate to something. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, and then he scream, and then it sort of cuts to a little sort of comedy element, sort of thing. And that idea that I was sold on that side of things, on the horror side of things, when I saw that blood, like you said, being drawn. It was almost sort of whatever this, this vampire we sort of see throughout, without sort of ruining too much, that when Abatak is around, especially if you've got an open wound or anything like that, but he draws the blood out of people towards him, which is such a nice, novel idea.
It's so original. It's great. It's a great idea, and visually it's stunning.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic. And like I say, it's surrounded by cast. You've got Jack Rowan is Eugene, who he's sort of trying to rebuild his mum's decrepit house. We get the idea his mum passed away.
Yeah.
And him and Dad haven't spoken for a while, and his dad keeps trying to give him chances. Like I said, their relationship is a little bit, would you say, forced?
Yeah, it's definitely is forced. Yeah, it's just one of those where it tried to give you that gravitas for the film, and it never really kind of worked, because I just feel it just came on quite strong, and the dad came across as a bit of an arsehole for so much that it's just like, I'm not sure how old he's supposed to be. You'd say between like what early 20s. You'd say probably early 20s for Eugene.
Yeah,
And you just think how the dad acted at times. You'd think, you know, I'm not 16.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Towards the end, I
mm,
think they get it perfectly right where it should
yeah,
be. It's just the build up and the start of the
yeah,
relationship for me. We don't have enough for that. But yeah, I do feel it is a little bit.
yeah. And then we've got Farfy is Will, who's Eugene's best mate,
Yeah.
and his girlfriend is Claire.
Yeah, and I thought
With
she was quite good
Louisa
actually.
Harness.
Very
Yeah,
understated. Yeah, yeah,
she was
she was
great.
great.
I actually think she was the strongest performer
Yeah,
alongside John Lynch as George,
yeah,
as Will's dad, and obviously the certain elements of like, sort of what drive their characters, which do you do sort of. I'd say that John Lynch's character is the one that you empathise with the most. I think you feel for him the most.
yeah. This film, nice saying it, it does remind me a little bit of. Bear with me. Kong Skull Island, where you've got the more interesting characters are the like secondary characters, the
Yeah,
supporting
yeah,
cast, and the two main ones. Apart from at the end, where they do shine, and I do admit that they do shine at the end. But all up until that, you are more interested in everybody else.
yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
I,
yeah, sorry to I was saying you
no,
quite
no,
like
no.
to draw similarities to sort of the human side for the for Shaun of the Dead, because Eugene you would sort of say would be the Shaun character because Michael Howe plays SP, who is so Nick
Nick
Frost,
Frost, yeah,
isn't he?
and and we will say spoilers, yeah, and that character would fit into that universe, and that's where I'm talking about characters fitting into comedy. He would fit if this film was straight comedy horror.
Yeah,
He would be perfect, but he never really seems to react or anything. He never seems to like does show any self awareness as a character that the mess that he's in
yeah,
and that they're in the danger and stuff, so it doesn't really ramp up the stakes. Whereas Nick Frost in Shaun of the Dead, like when they get into the bar scene at the end and Dylan Moran's gone and everything, they really are. It becomes then it's earned the right to go into like very serious like section of the film.
yeah,
This just when it's like you said when it's switching around all the time, it's really difficult to like know where you are and
yeah.
to build up any momentum. But I did enjoy it. I can't lie. There's some great effects. The cast are great. They are. Some of them work, some of them don't, but they all give a good performance. Creature
I
makeup's great.
yeah, I think the vampire lore is great.
I
I
love that it
think
kind of takes a brick to it and like you fucking Hollywood pricks.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's an interesting thing about how people become vampires, and it's all to do with sort of it's just like sort of folklore, sort of magic. It's like kind of doing its own thing, which is
yeah,
nice. We've
Des.
had sort of vampire movies have been around since the start of the 1900s.
Yeah,
So to have something that tries to do something different,
yeah.
finally, a century on, is really really nice.
And I'm sure some people maybe watch it, enjoy it, and think I'm being a bit too harsh, but I think it's because the biggest bugbear I've got in movie is wasted potential.
Yeah,
Sometimes I can feel more at ease with a film that's terrible, but I felt this just had so much lore behind it. You could have done a film just on the creature and forgot all the bullshit like
yeah, yeah,
between characters and having that big of a cast, because you could have just had two vampire hunters going after this thing in this
yeah,
town, and because the lore is so interesting and the creature's so interesting.
yeah,
So I think that's my problem. It's just we could have had the next Shaun, we could have had the next like movie that is a bit of a hit on the streaming service because
yeah,
it's just so much fun, but in its own right, it deserves to do really well, and it
yeah.
is really nice. And again, Shudder's coming through
Oh, Shudder's doing
with movies.
fantastically
Yeah,
well. Yeah, give me more Attack.
brilliant. So, recommendation then, Dan, from
Yeah,
you.
it's mate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would definitely recommend it. I say it's nice for people to figure out obviously themselves or where they sit with it.
Yeah,
I think I do think most people will probably find that tonal struggle, a little
Yeah.
fight, but it's fun. It's a fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and when it does, it's all the better for it.
Yeah, and I think there's just one little scene for me when they're kind of driving through the empty streets on like it's like a little JCB or whatever, or digger and not. I just think not quite as funny as you guys have maybe written that. Like
Yeah.
it's good, but it's that's kind of scene sums up to me kind of like a little bit of it's just someone should really put their hand on somebody's shoulder and said, need to build up to that.
Yeah,
Things are
yeah,
just dropped in. But yeah, I'd recommend it. You'll have a great time. I'd recommend it definitely. You'll have a good time and stuff. It's just a wasted potential frustrates me because it could have been so great. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. So yeah, don't
good.
you know? I'm not nitpicking. I do feel there are a few issues, but you'll still have a bloody good time.
Brilliant. Yeah, nice one. Oh, thanks for that, mate. So you guys out there, go and watch it. Go and enjoy it. It's on Shudder right now. Also, please like, share, and subscribe, so we can keep doing what we're doing. Because we're
Yeah,
really enjoying it.
we'll drop you in a small Irish town with a vampire.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm not paying for that. You can pay for that. Yeah,
From the
you pay
blood
for
bank.
that. From the thing. Right, have a good night, folks. See you later.